Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some seriously fascinating stuff today. Babylonian Magic and Sorcery.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. You know, you guys sent us these excerpts from this, really old book from 1893. The title is just Babylonian Magic and Sorcery, straight and to the point.
Okay, so what's so special about this book?
Well, it analyzes these cuneiform tablets, right? And get this, they were from King Ashurbanipal's library.
Whoa, hold on. We're talking like ancient Assyria here.
Exactly. We're going way back, like 668 to 625 BC. These tablets are packed with prayers and incantations.
Okay, I'm hooked. What kind of prayers are we talking about?
They're known as the prayers of the lifting of the hand, and they're not your typical, oh, please, gods, help me kind of prayers.
How so?
They were super ritualistic with specific structures and offerings, like each prayer was a carefully crafted performance.
That's amazing. It's like we're getting a glimpse into how they viewed the world, their hopes and anxieties.
Right. And you know what's even cooler? The book mentions how meticulously Ashurbanipal's scribes organized and copied these prayers.
Ooh, that definitely suggests they were pretty important.
Totally. It wasn't just about preserving knowledge. It was about preserving a belief system that probably stretched across ancient Mesopotamia.
It's like holding a piece of their worldview right in our hands. Okay, I'm dying to know more about these prayers.
Well, the book keeps mentioning these catch lines that connect the prayers.
Catch lines.
Yeah. Like imagine ancient hyperlinks linking one prayer to the next.
Huh. That makes you wonder if there was a specific order or sequence to them.
Right. Like, did they have this whole magical playbook for dealing with life's ups and downs?
Maybe it was like their ancient self-help guide.
Exactly. And you know what else is interesting? They weren't praying to just one deity. It was a whole pantheon of gods and goddesses.
So we're talking Sin, Ishtar, Shamash, Marduk, the whole crew.
You got it. It shows just how complex their beliefs were. And each god or goddess had specific powers and influence.
So choosing the right one for your problem was key. Like if you had a legal issue, you wouldn't pray to the god of agriculture.
Exactly. But you know, some of their anxieties seem surprisingly relatable, even today. Like the book mentions that King Ashurbanipal even had prayers for protection from lunar eclipses.
I can see why they'd be freaked out by those. Imagine back then an eclipse would have been a major disruption.
Totally. To them, it wasn't just astronomy. It was like the cosmic order was going haywire.
It makes sense that they'd seek divine intervention for something like that. It shows how deeply they believed in the power of the gods.
Absolutely. Their fears of curses and evil spirits are also fascinating. It's like we might turn to therapy or self-help books today, but they sought comfort and protection through magic and rituals.
That's a great point. The book describes all these elaborate rituals involving casting objects into oil, burning specific incense, offering food. They were incredibly meticulous about it all.
Oh yeah, one detail that totally stuck with me was the mention of a sana of incense before the goddess Tezmitu.
ASANA. Now, that's a mystery. What even is that?
Exactly. It's like we're piecing together this ancient puzzle, but some pieces are still missing. It just makes it even more intriguing.
For sure. It's like we're on an archaeological dig, unearthing these amazing artifacts and trying to figure out what they meant.
And then there's the mention of a KSAG, another offering. Again, no clear explanation, but it definitely piques your curiosity.
It's like they're leaving us clues to their secret world. Okay, so we've got these intricate rituals and specific offerings. It all sounds pretty exclusive, like something only priests or kings would do.
Right. But that's where the prayers of the lifting of the hand get really interesting. The book suggests that these weren't just for the elite. Everyday people use them too.
Really? So we're talking farmers, merchants, everyone.
Seems like it. They were used for personal stuff like healing, protection, even success in their daily lives. It was about seeking divine help for all sorts of needs.
So a farmer facing a bad harvest might use these prayers, or a merchant hoping for a good trade deal.
Exactly. And it gets even deeper. The book proposes that the deities they chose might have been linked to their profession or social status.
Wow, that's fascinating. So by analyzing who prayed to whom, we might learn about their social structure.
Right. It shows how intertwined their beliefs were with every aspect of their lives. It wasn't just about grand ceremonies. It was personal and practical.
It really humanizes them, doesn't it? It shows that even though their world was so different from ours, they had similar concerns and desires.
Absolutely. And speaking of connecting with the divine, the book also analyzes the poetic and rhythmic structure of these prayers.
Wait, so these weren't just dry recitations?
Apparently not. The author thinks they were actually chanted or sung like hymns or incantations.
Wow, that changes everything. Suddenly I'm imagining these rituals as these vibrant performances.
Me too. It adds a whole other layer of meaning and power to them.
It really highlights the artistry involved. They weren't just reciting words, they were creating an experience.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm even more fascinated now.
Me too. It's incredible how these ancient prayers can still speak to us today. We've uncovered their structure, their purpose, their personal nature, and it seems like there's so much more to discover.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface, honestly. There's this one prayer in the book that really jumped out at me. It's addressed to like a ton of deities: Sin, Shamash, Ishtar, Bel, Beli, even Zagar, the dream god.
Whoa, they weren't messing around.
Yeah.
What were they trying to get with that kind of divine lineup?
It's like a confession almost. The person is laying out all their sins and asking for forgiveness and guidance. Really humbling, actually.
So they believed their thoughts and actions had real consequences, like they affected their relationship with the gods.
Exactly. And here's where the magic comes in. They weren't just hoping for forgiveness, they were actively trying to protect themselves from, like, curses and evil spirits.
So spiritual cleansing and magical defense, all in one.
You got it. And the book even breaks it down how they appeal to each god's powers. Like, for Shamash, the sun god, they ask him to shine upon my sins, make them disappear.
Wow, that's powerful imagery, like their wrongdoings being literally burned away by the sun.
Right. It just shows how deeply intertwined their spiritual and magical thinking was. This prayer really gives us a glimpse into their inner lives, their fears and hopes.
Are there other prayers that give us that kind of personal insight?
Oh, definitely. The book spends a lot of time on prayers to Marduk, the patron god of Babylon.
Ah, Marduk, the king of the gods, the big guy himself. Makes sense they'd turn to him for help.
Yeah, they asked him for everything: healing, protection, success in business, even help with relationships.
Like the ultimate cosmic problem solver.
Exactly. And the book points out how they emphasize Marduk's mercy and compassion. They call on him to have pity on them, hear their cries. It's almost like a child asking a parent for help.
So they acknowledge his power, but also appeal to his softer side, seeking strength and comfort at the same time.
Exactly. And to make those appeals even stronger, they had really elaborate rituals for Marduk, lots of incense, offerings, specific words to say. It's like they were creating a sacred space to connect with him.
There was one ritual that involved casting mastical seeds into oil. Why mastical seeds? Is there something special about them?
The book doesn't say for sure, but it's definitely interesting to think about. Maybe they represented healing or protection, or maybe they had a connection to Marduk himself. It's just one of those little mysteries that makes studying this stuff so fun.
Like a clue in a historical detective novel. It makes you want to keep digging and figure out the meaning behind everything. Okay, so we've seen prayers of repentance, pleas for help. What about goddesses? Did they turn to them for support too?
Oh, absolutely. The book has a whole section on prayers to Ishtar, the goddess of love, war, and fertility. She was a major figure in their pantheon.
Ishtar. Love and war, that's such a powerful combination. It's like she embodies all the extremes of human experience.
Totally. And the prayers to her reflect that duality. They call on her strength and ferocity when they're in conflict, but also her compassion and nurturing side in matters of love and family.
Like she represents both the power and vulnerability we all have inside us.
That's a great way to put it. The book talks about how they use these vivid metaphors to talk to Ishtar. Like in one prayer, someone caught up in a legal battle describes themselves as a bird trapped in a net, and they ask Ishtar to cut the cords and set them free.
Wow, you can really feel the desperation in that image.
Right. And another thing that comes up a lot in Ishtar's prayers is her role as protector of women and children. They ask her to watch over them, shield them from harm.
Like a divine mother figure offering comfort and safety in a world that could be pretty harsh.
Exactly. That maternal aspect even shows up in her rituals. They'd offer her food and drink, burn incense. It's like they were trying to nourish and please her, welcoming her into their homes.
It's amazing how personalized their relationship with the divine was. They really wove the gods and goddesses into every part of their lives. Okay, so we've covered Ishtar. Any other goddesses they turn to?
Yes. The book also looks at prayers to Tezmitu, the goddess of wisdom and writing.
Tezmitu. The goddess of wisdom. Now, that's someone I can get behind. What kind of wisdom were they looking for from her?
They asked her for guidance, understanding, the ability to make good decisions. They also called on her for protection from evil spirits and curses, especially the ones connected to, like, written words and magic.
So she was like the patroness of scholars, scribes, anyone seeking knowledge and protection from the unknown.
Exactly. And the book points out that she's often mentioned alongside Nabu, the god of wisdom. Together, they represent, like, a super-powered source of knowledge and insight.
Like the ultimate wise couple. It's so cool how their pantheon reflects all the different aspects of human experience and all the challenges they faced. They saw the divine in everything, from the stars and planets to the power of language.
It's true. And through these carefully crafted prayers and rituals, they were trying to make sense of the world and find some peace and security.
It's a good reminder that even though their beliefs might seem strange to us now, they were driven by the same basic human desires we all have. The need for meaning, connection, and a sense of safety in a world that can feel pretty scary.
You're so right. It makes you wonder, what will people thousands of years from now think about our rituals and beliefs? What will they be able to figure out about us based on what we leave behind?
It's a mind-blowing thought. Well, while we ponder that, let's get back to the prayers of the lifting of the hand. You mentioned earlier that the book looks at their rhythm and poetic structure.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the most fascinating parts. The author argues that these prayers weren't just recited, they were meant to be chanted or sung, like almost musical performances.
Really? That totally changes my image of these rituals.
Yeah.
I'm picturing something much more dynamic, with energy and rhythm.
Right, like they might have believed that the sound itself had power, that a certain rhythm or tone could attract the attention of the gods.
It's amazing how creative and intentional they were with their spirituality.
Yeah.
They weren't just blindly following tradition, they were actively shaping their connection with the divine.
And it gets even cooler. The book analyzes the actual arrangement of the cuneiform signs on the tablets, and it seems like it's meant to reflect the rhythm of the prayers. Like they were paying attention to the visual aspect, too.
So it was like they were composing these multi-layered works of art, combining words, symbols, and rhythm to create something truly powerful.
Exactly. It wasn't just about saying the right words. It was about creating an experience that would resonate on all these different levels.
It's incredible how much depth and meaning there is to uncover in these ancient practices. It makes you wonder, will people in the future see the same artistry and intention in our own forms of expression, our music, our writing, our rituals?
That's a great question, one for the ages, I think. But for now, let's stick with the Babylonians. We still have more to explore in their world of magic and sorcery.
I'm all for it. What else can you tell us?
Well, we've talked about the prayers, the deities, the rhythms, but we haven't gotten into the specifics of the objects and materials they used in their rituals, and that's where things get really interesting.
All right, so we've talked about the prayers themselves, the deities involved, the rhythms and the poetry, even the hopes and fears woven into these ancient Babylonian rituals. But now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual magical practices themselves. We touched on that whole casting objects into oil thing earlier. That really caught my attention.
It's definitely one of those things that highlights the, like, physical side of their magic, you know? And the book actually offers some pretty interesting explanations for why they did it.
Lay it on me. What's the deal with the oil? It seems so specific.
Well, oil was a big deal in their beliefs. They saw it as purifying, something that could cleanse objects and people from bad energy. Think of it like a spiritual bath, but with oil instead of water.
So they were basically like supercharging these objects with protective energy by dunking them in oil, turning ordinary stuff into sacred tools.
Exactly. It's about harnessing the power of the material world to connect with the divine, giving everyday objects a deeper meaning.
It fits with everything else we've seen so far, right? That idea of bridging the gap between the physical and spiritual.
Totally. And the objects they used varied depending on the ritual. Sometimes it was seeds, like those mastical seeds we talked about. Sometimes metal, sometimes even pieces of broken clay tablets.
It's like they were choosing ingredients for a magical recipe. Does the book say anything about why they picked those specific things?
Not for every single object, but it's fun to speculate. Maybe metal represented strength, and clay, being from the earth, symbolized grounding or connection to nature.
It's like a secret language of magic.
Yeah.
Okay, so oil was key, but were there other important elements in their rituals?
Definitely. Incense was huge, and not just any incense. They used specific types, each with its own properties and associations.
So it wasn't just about smelling nice. It was about invoking certain energies or appealing to specific deities through the smoke.
Exactly. They saw the rising smoke as a bridge between the earthly realm and the heavens, carrying their prayers and offerings up to the gods.
It's like they were creating a visual pathway for their intentions. Wow, these rituals were truly multisensory experiences. They were engaging sight, smell, touch, everything.
Absolutely. And speaking of objects with power, the book also talks about amulets and talismans, things they used for protection and good luck.
Amulets. That's something that still resonates with people today. That desire to carry a little bit of protection or luck with you. What kind of amulets did they use?
They had all sorts, from simple clay figurines to intricately carved stones or metal pendants, and they believed the power of each amulet came from its shape, the material, and any inscriptions or symbols on it.
So each one was like a mini shield of magic, carefully crafted to ward off evil and attract good fortune.
Exactly. The book describes how they wore these amulets or kept them in their homes and businesses for protection.
It's fascinating how those ancient practices, like carrying amulets, still hold meaning for us today.
Mm.
Maybe we don't cast objects into oil anymore, but that desire for protection, for connection to something beyond ourselves, that's still there.
It really shows how deeply rooted those desires are and how humans have always sought comfort and meaning in the face of uncertainty.
This whole journey into the world of the ancient Babylonians has been incredible. Through those prayers of the lifting of the hand, we've gotten such a vivid glimpse into their worldview, how magic and spirituality were so deeply intertwined with their everyday lives.
It has been fascinating. I hope that by exploring these beliefs and practices, even the ones that seem strange or unfamiliar, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the things that connect us all as human beings. Because at the end of the day, these ancient prayers came from those same basic human desires that we all share. The longing for meaning, for connection, for security in a world that can often feel chaotic and unpredictable.
Beautifully said. And who knows, maybe thousands of years from now, some future historian will be studying our rituals and beliefs, trying to figure out what they meant, what they tell us about who we were, just like we're doing with the Babylonians.
It's humbling to think about, isn't it? And maybe they'll find something familiar in those remnants of our own attempts to understand the mysteries of existence, a connection to that same human spirit that shines through in these ancient Babylonian prayers. Thanks for joining us for this incredible deep dive, everyone. Until next time.